So now what? You've probably asked yourself that question 100 times because for decades you've been doing what you have to. And now you're wondering, have I actually done enough to do what I want to do? Would you like some help? That's why we're here, to take you from I have to wow, I really get to. I'm Brad Johansen with Omega Wealth Private Capital, and this is Wise Money. Glad you are with us on Wise Money. Brad Johansen with Joe Wilson III, Omega Wealth Private Capital. How are you, buddy?
Fabulous. Welcome back.
It's good to be back to the set, isn't it?
We're back working on the set. I love this. You're home. You're comfortable. This is what you do. For decades, you were on the TV.
Speaking of decades of what you do, this is what you do. The book's out.
Book's out.
The 5 agreements.
Excited about it. We're going to talk about it a little bit.
People are excited about it as well. I mean, folks, this is what we've been preaching on all of the time. It is the 5 agreements to be and stay retirement ready. We want you to have a copy on that, but I think we probably start with a 5 to begin this show as well, because there's so much turmoil right now in the economy.
Well, it's volatility.
Which is what is standard. People say, you know what, we've had a nice little run for a few years, and maybe this volatility thing isn't real. And the understanding is this is the way that it works. History shows us that.
History does show us. If you go back and look at volatility, even just going back in the 80s, and there are times and periods in the market where it is volatile. It doesn't always just go up. It's one thing when and that's what we're going to talk about today. It's one thing when you're saving and you're earning that money and you're buying into those markets. But as you're getting ready maybe for retirement, or we've got to focus on right now just the layoffs. There's a lot of companies that are just saying, hey, we're not sure with what's going on. We're downsizing. Maybe you're a government employee here in our area, and you've got a situation where you're not sure, you're unsure. The certainty of uncertainty is present.
Yeah.
What can you do? I think there are some things we have to cover. I want to go over the top 5 things, whether you're worried about a layoff or maybe you're worrying about a layoff because you're getting ready to retire. In essence, you're laying yourself off.
I like that.
And I think we have to cover this.
Okay.
And because number one, we have to maximize our guaranteed paychecks.
Meaning what?
We have to look at how Social Security, depending on your age, maybe there is a pension if you're a government worker. Maybe you have a pension if you're working. It's only about 7% nationally now are getting pensions. But do you set up a private pension? Something that is set up for you to get money in uncertain times. We have to look at that, and also survivorship. What happens when you pass away? We have to maximize the income right now, because if the job stops, where's our income going to come from? And so we have to understand where we're going to bridge those gaps until we can either find another job, or maybe this is the step into retirement. It's all about income planning. Bijo, we have sat in the office in the past 2 weeks. We've had numerous folks that are government employees.
Scared.
Worried, right? Why?
Yeah.
Because they're at that point of getting ready to retire, or they've just are thinking about retiring. But this is a very uncertain time for them. Will I have a job? Will I have income? So the focus has gone right in on the depth of income planning.
Yeah.
It's what we do, though, with every retiree. We had 18 meetings last week, 17 the week before that, with folks just like you that are entering these retirement years, and every single one of them revolve around, where am I going to get my income out of this money that I have saved? We have to focus right off the bat. How do we maximize that income? How do we use the current interest rate environment to set up a place that has your necessities and lifestyle covered? How does it work with Social Security, like we say, optimization? And how does it all work together? Maybe you're married. What is the survivorship? God forbid if something happens to you.
Yeah.
It is 3D chess, but it all focuses around income, and you have to get a handle on it.
When you talk about the survivorship as well, and I think this is important to talk about, that we have many times one of the spouses who will come in and say, I do the finances. And we will often say, we need you both to come in. No, she doesn't do it, or he doesn't really do it. What's the idea of having them both together and understanding this?
Well, because statistically, no, and I mean, it's stats, but the reality is rarely do couples pass away together. Somebody's going to be the last spouse standing. And Every person in here needs to understand what the next could look like. Doesn't mean you have to be an expert. Doesn't mean you have to write a book on it. But you need to understand where your money is and what and how the landscape changes when one family member passes away. We talk about income. You can only spend after tax income. Let's just touch on this before we go to break.
Okay.
When one of the family members pass, a married couple, they're in many times married filing jointly. It's a preferred tax bracket. One of the things that I hate about our current tax code is the widow's tax. The following year, that last spouse standing is now being forced to file as a single in a single bracket, which is substantially higher, which means that's less money coming in. And so if you're worried in these turbulent times, where am I going to get my income if I get laid off? What if I do retire? How does this look 10, 15 years? It all revolves, number one, you have to have a written income plan.
Oh, okay. In writing that written income plan, a lot of people don't know where they are. We continually try to bring things to you that make this a little bit more simple, something that you can go to understand. Joe, I want you to talk about the readiness quiz that we have put together at owquiz.com. Really simple, but very effective to give you an idea of where you are if you're thinking about this might be my time.
And you said it great. Do you know where you are? Do you have a clear understanding of where you are with your savings? How much of it is taxable? How much is not? Where are you going to get your income when you retire? What happens if you do need long-term care? All of these factors are put together in a very simple quiz, owquiz.com. If you go there, fill out, take a picture of that QR code, it'll lead you there. It'll take 5 minutes or so. It's not a very in-depth, but it's going to ask some questions that's going to give you an idea and a number that says, wow, hey, I'm actually above where I thought I would be when it comes to the knowledge and ready for this, or we got some work to do. And that's why we're here, to help you be and stay retirement ready. Take the uncertainty out of these crazy uncertain times. Get a clear understanding in a quiz. We're going to hit the break. When we come back, we're going to dive into more. Stay tuned. You're watching Wise Money.
A recent study shows that 1 out of every 4 households are living off Social Security, and it isn't working. What you need to know to make your Social Security work for you, next.
My grandfather was an old Texan cowboy oil man. I remember him telling me, you can only worry about the things you can control. Never worry about the things you can't control. The election's going to happen every 4 years. Every 2 years, we're going to vote different folks in on the Hill. We call it legislative risk. It's the beautiful structure of our government. We vote folks in and out, and every 2 years, the power on the Hill shifts. So change is constant. It's the certainty of uncertainty. You have to recognize that because we're planning it over 30 years. So how do we as advisors take that uncertainty and create a plan? And the fact is, we have to control what we can control. You can't control how much risk you're taking. Do you have hidden risk inside the portfolio? What about the tax debt? What kind of income plan do you have structured that's going to go along with Social Security, or what if Social Security isn't there in the form that it is currently? If we can control those measures, it doesn't really matter who's in the White House or who's on the Hill. Because now when it comes to the financial planning of your life, we've taken that variable out because we have something that is certain, because it is a very uncertain world. Control what you can control.
I've got $1 million question for you. Are you ready to retire? Sorry, I don't know is not an acceptable answer. Now, you may be years away, maybe you're weeks away from calling it quits, and you still don't have a plan. You're not alone. So scan the QR code. It's free. Go to owquiz.com. We've created a quiz to give you a clear idea of retirement readiness. What's your income source? What's your Social Security at full retirement age? Do you know what your tax debt is? Plan for health care? I know, it's a lot. Scan the QR code. Get your retirement readiness score. In just a few minutes, you will have a much clearer picture of how ready you are and which areas might need a little more attention, because if you're not ready to retire with enough money to last until your last breath, when would you like to know? Stop with the I don't know. Get a second opinion. It's free. Scan the QR code, owquiz.com, for your retirement readiness score. Ready now? Glad you're with us on Wise Money. Brad Johansen along with Joe Wilson III as we are talking about the 5 agreements, which we continually talk about. You talked about the volatility that people are feeling, layoffs that are coming, the uncertainty of uncertainty that we're dealing with, or certainty of uncertainty that we're dealing with right now.
Yeah, certain.
This is a situation where we talk about risk tolerance. We've done this in Jargon Slayer before, of what's risk tolerance, what's risk capacity. The risk capacity to protect you for 30 years of saving, what do you mean like that?
There was a gentleman that came in recently, and right off the bat, he said, I'm a very aggressive investor. Okay. Our question is, what does that mean? Aggressive to you is going to be different than aggressive to you. As we sat and talked, he'd been working in the work world about 35 years, wants to work for about another 4. Is kind of where he's at. He's just kind of getting into that, we call it the risk box, and wanted to make sure that everything was lining up as they were hoping, and came to us off of television, was watching the show. As we sat and talked, we were able to really get an idea that he goes, I'm very comfortable with volatility. But as we got into the numbers, the truth is his risk capacity, the amount of volatility truly that he could financially handle was very different than how he felt he was as an investor. The truth is he had worked all of those years, and his positioning and that volatility and capacity of how he's invested today and in markets that recently we've been going through a volatility, he couldn't sustain it if he was taking money out. That's where folks, I think, get a disconnect, because you've been accumulating. So you might feel like, hey, I'm a aggressive investor. When the market's down, I'm buying in. The challenge is when you're taking money out, you have to be very cautious of that volatility, and it's why we like to give every dollar a job. You need growth money, but you better earmark a piece off that gives you a place to go to get income regardless if the market's good or regardless if the market is down. Example, great year last year in the market. We have a lot of folks that were living last year off of their market money.
Yeah.
Right? Because it was up.
It was great.
What do you think they've been doing the first part of 25 as the market's been retesting and coming back a little bit? They're living off of their income bucket money. They're able to do that because they're not having to sell when the market's down. And that is the secret, not just for today, but so you don't run out of money 15, 20 years down the road. Understanding your risk capacity and how to protect 30, 40 years of retirement, because you have to manage money differently if you're leaving the workforce than how you've done before. You're no longer contributing.
You say that we need to adjust spending in non-essential things right now. As people start going, and we talk about this emotionally, where people get greedy when the market's going up 25%, and then suddenly when things change, there is fear that drives all the decisions, and you say it's math that you have to get in and understand non-essential.
Well, it's a spending plan, and we have to get from our thoughts onto paper. So one of the first things we do, and it sounds so basic, we do this in our educational workshops across the universities in the area. We sit down and go, okay, what is our spending plan? We don't say the B word. We don't say budget. What are the necessities you have to live? I'm a type 1 juvenile diabetic. I cannot give up insulin. It is the pump supplies. It's what keeps me ticking. I'm not going to give that up. That's a necessity. But what's a lifestyle that if I don't have the money there, I might need to trim back? We encourage everyone, and if you're going through a layoff situation or you're getting ready to retire, we love to sit down with folks and go, hey, for the next 6 months, let's test run this. Let's live as though you don't have that income. You have retired, or maybe you're worried about your job right now. Well, let's tighten the belt a little bit on our spending plan and go, why don't we just live off of the necessities, and let's really see how far can this go? And we test drive retirement. That doesn't mean you should spend less money in retirement. No one wants to retire and get a pay cut. In fact, what I love is when we sit down with folks and we do the proper planning where they realize, oh my goodness, my income retirement could almost be as good, if not better.
Yeah.
Those are the great days. But let's just try to understand, hey, if we do this how you've been doing it, you're going to have to say no to a few things because you can't handle the volatility. So try it for a few months. Just try it off the necessities. Everyone comes back miserable. I'm going to work 5 more years. Well, that's probably not the answer. You might not even have that option. That's why we do this, because if there's a way for us to set up an income engine that provides the necessities and the lifestyle, that's the sweet spot.
Income engine is the very beginning of the book, the 5 agreements to be and stay retirement ready. Would you like a copy? This is a chance for you to do that. You can scan the QR code there, send you to this spot. We'd love to give this book to you in the office as you come in. We want to put together a retirement readiness review. It covers everything that we talk about on this program and within the book. It's there to simplify your retirement. 844-657-1072 is where we want you to call, make an appointment. We're going to come back and talk about the volatility, the uncertainty.
Chapter 3. We're going to hammer on Chapter 3.
Chapter 3 comes when we come back.
Hard to believe I've been in this industry almost 19 years. I've seen a lot of folks that have had successful retirements that have come in and come to work with us, and things are going well. They just want to improve it. I've also had folks come in and we see it the other way, where it has not gone the way that they've wanted. So there's a perspective there. We see a lot. We get the opportunity to get wisdom from that. So it led me to write a book after 18 years. And we call it The 5 Agreements to Be and Stay Retirement Ready, because you have to have all 5 agreements. You have to have an income plan. You have to manage for taxes. You have to have an investment growth bucket that is able to sustain and beat long-term inflation. They all have to work together. But you also have to have a legacy plan, because we're all going to die one day. And how do you pass those dollars on most efficiently? And what about asset preservation? You're looking at the cost of healthcare and where it's going. What's our hedge against that? It's the #1 area we see folks not even prepared, that and taxes. All 5 of those agreements must come together. It's why we say to be and stay retirement ready.
There'll probably be programs now where we can have this, where you can say, hey, go to page 54 on your book right now. We'd like to have so many of you have these books that you can actually follow along. Page 54 in this book, we're talking longevity risk.
It's a real risk, and it's something that I think a lot of folks, we're worried about right now. Okay, well, how do I get through the next 5 years? And that's makes sense. If you're getting ready to get laid off, you're worried about the immediate. If you're getting ready to retire, hey, how does this look short term? Because we can wrap our heads around that. But one of the things I feel like our team does such an amazing job is just helping you realize what it's like today. It's going to change over the next 10, 15, 20 years. And it's why we have to crush and get this done right now. Because if we start taking out more than we should, if we don't have a true income plan, and what's the common area where that happens? The market dips and you go, well, I can't take less. I'm just going to take a little bit more this year and this year. It affects us so much 20 years down the road. Longevity risk, we're living longer. Not only does this money have to stretch, but we have to talk about health care. If you're getting ready to lose your job and you're 63, where out of your income plan are you going to get money for the next few years to cover your health care until you can start Medicare?
Well,
65?
This is Agreement 3 in asset preservation that continues on down the road.
Way down the road, because what we do now has a lasting effect 20, 25 years from now. #1 concern right now, folks that are already retired, their biggest concern is the rising cost of health care. I've shared with it on this show. My mother is on a pill that's over $400 a month. That's
one pill.
Concerning, yes. There's 3 phases of retirement. There's the go-go years. When you retire, you want to go. Maybe you're like, I'm done, I'm out of here. Take this job and shove it. Let's go. Let's go see the world. We spend money. Things then slow down a little bit. We call it the slow goes. I've done that, Bijo. I don't want to go back there. I don't want to go back to Disney, as our kids called it when they were little. And it shifts to the no-go. A lot of folks think, well, I'm just not going to spend as much money in the 80s or 85s or 90s. The challenge is we sit with folks all the time, and what we're seeing is, no, they're spending money like they were in the first few years. Why? It's healthcare.
Yeah.
The cost of healthcare. What can you be doing right now? Where can we have some of these dollars that you have just amassed that says, I want to have access to money. I don't want to give up that access, but Lord forbid, if I need it, I can get a tax-free benefit out of there to help cover these rising costs, because the #1 fear out of modern retirees is running out of money. Living too long or having a medical situation. Here's the thing. Control we can control. We can plan and put a plan in place now. How do I know that? Because we've been doing this for a long time, helping people just like you be and stay retirement ready.
I want to get to this because we never have enough time to do it, but I want you to talk about the tax calculator that you put together and maybe take us to break with that in the idea that this is part of the agreements. As you talk about asset preservation, we also talk about the tax debt. When you say #1 worry, maybe healthcare, well, for a lot of people, #1 worry may be, and they don't understand it,
Yeah,
what
it's their
they're dealing
biggest
with
risk. And a lot of times, think about this. If you've been saving in a 457 or a 403B or 401k, a lot of times, almost all that money, unless it's been in a Roth version, is tax deferred. There's taxes due when you take that money out. And you can only spend after-tax dollars in retirement. You can't go on a vacation and hand them your retirement statement and say, here, take it out of here. No, they're going to say, give us a Visa, MasterCard, or American Express and pay it off later. You have to then convert these retirement savings into cash. The biggest area where folks don't realize is, wow, I've got all this money. I had a conversation with dinner last night. Someone came in that had $5 million in a retirement account. That's a lot of money. The fact is, it's not all theirs. There's a huge tax bill. And so this little tax bill you can get right there on the bottom. It's quick. Take out your phone or go to wisetaxbill.com. Fill out just some basic information. Are you married? Are you single? You get to kind of gauge what you feel like your growth rate's going to be, and it's going to give you a number that's going to give you an idea, a conversation, a starting place of, wow, look at those required minimum distributions I have to take based upon your age at 73 or 75. And you start to see the money that's going to have to come out of here, and then the money that turns into just from a tax planning situation, oh my. And what you can do right now, because we've got a window available to us, we're in the third lowest bracket. There are strategies and plans you have to take advantage of. This is, before we go to break, this is where folks, you'll see neighbors, similar neighborhood, drive similar cars. One neighbor is struggling in retirement. The other neighbor is thriving in retirement. I would position and challenge you. Usually the ones that are thriving, because everything else looks the same, similar income, similar job, similar thing. The 5 agreements are taken care of. And if you're missing one, it'll cost you money. It's why we go over all of this as a comprehensive retirement plan. It's more than just saving money, and your plan is not that number on your statement. It has to break down on how do you spend it.
Are you ready to be retired? wisetaxbill.com, scan the QR code. We'll be right back. Finish it up in a minute.
Just ahead, can you survive another market crash? Why current volatility makes having an advisor with perspective more important than ever. Stay tuned.
I think sometimes you have to go back to go ahead. I remember vividly being 11 or 12, and my dad had an amazing job with a shoe company. It was a huge boot company. Had all the swag, the backpacks, the bags, the boots. Things were going great until it didn't. Dad suddenly found himself without a job. I remember the impact to my family and how just life shifted. I could tell things were not the way they used to be. And so for a while, it was different, and income was different for my family. I look back at that and realize, as a financial advisor, having started in this industry right before the great financial crisis, how important income planning and having an income engine is to folks being able to maintain the lifestyle that they want. I mean, think about this. Folks have worked 30, 40 years at the same job. Why? So they could amass wealth to one day live off that. They're going to fire themselves. It all revolves around income. And if it's not there, the impact that has to retirement, no one wants to live through that.
We're so glad you're with us. No time is important to you, and we have regular viewers. Appreciate you. A lot of people we have come into the office say, you know what, I've been watching for a couple of years. Don't wait any longer. Don't watch for a couple of years and go, you're probably right, I should do this. This is the book that we've been talking about consistently for a couple of years that Joe was getting ready to put together. Like, come on, will you do this? Will you do this? It's here. 5 agreements to be and stay retirement ready. This is what's on your screen. You can scan the QR code. Come on into the office.
We'll get a free copy. They scan that code, fill out the information.
This costs you absolutely nothing. We're talking about volatility, the 5 ways that you need to make sure that your income is prepared, not just for now, but for longevity of what it is, because we say it all the time that most people have been doing what they've been doing for decades, and now they're going, okay, I got to do this. Yeah. Why is volatility so important right now when we feel the changes almost daily now?
I think there's 2 sides of this. Volatility is normal. I mean, the average inter-year decline, top to bottom, this technical jargon, is 13% down. Even in the good years, we see the market dip going back to 1980. But for many of you, you've been saving into that. You've been buying the sweaters or the jackets or the toys on sale. You've been buying into the market every 2 weeks. But when you retire, and you have to go to take that money out. Volatility can be extremely challenging. It's not always good markets. If you go back and look, about every 6 years, statistically, we're going to have over a 25% decline in the market. That's huge. Think about what you're sitting on right now. If you have $1 million saved in retirement, how much would your life change if it went to $2 million? That'd be pretty nice.
Be
right?
nice.
If it doubled.
That'd be
but
good.
how much would your retirement be, Joe? You're 60.
Unfortunately, I'm approaching that. Yeah, I'm coming up on 63.
If you lost half of your money, think of that. That's volatility. Well, that can't happen. Really? I started in this business right before the great financial crisis, and you're looking at from October of 2007 to the bottom of the market, March 9th, 2009. Just in the S&P 500, it's almost a 57% decline. Think of that. Think of that from $1 million and now having under $500,000 available to last you for retirement. One of the worst things you could have done is just retired in 2006. Bad years happen. Well, I would never put it all on the market. I'd have like a 60-40. Well, 60-40 has been a home run hitter in accumulation. The challenge is during that same time period, that was down over 32%. Let me refresh your memory here. In 2022, 60-40 wasn't very good either. If you're saving, volatility can actually be your friend. When you've retired and you're taking money out, if you're not structured correctly, and if you're managing it all in like we call the junk drawer in one way, that's where volatility can crush you, because you cannot sustain a 25-30% decline and not adjust your income down. You've worked too hard to put the variable of, well, my retirement's going to be upon the whim of where the tax brackets are, what volatility is going to be, whether we do a vacation to Europe or nothing wrong with this, but go camping at Sharon Woods. All of that should not be dependent upon a variable. We can control what we can control. And what we can control is where you allocate your dollars and where you're going to get your income. So you have a plan that is going to last you to and through retirement. How do you do it? Pick up the phone. Dial 844-657-1072. We have amazing operators on the other end that'll set up a time. Come into our office and just have a conversation. Or take out a QR code there, take a picture of it, ask for one of these, and in the notes say, I want to connect, because you need a written retirement readiness review. Thanks for watching. You get one shot at retirement. Today's the day so you can have the retirement of your future. We're going to see you next week.
From tax time bombs to Social Security insecurities, strategic investments that help clean up your junk drawer and keep your income engine running smoothly at Omega Wealth Private Capital. We're fiduciary, independent, holistic wealth advisors, and we're here to turn your have-tos into get-tos. So, would you like your retirement dreams to move from good to great? Give us a call. It's what we do, because we really want to. Thanks so much for joining us. Hope to see you in the office. Until then, I'm Brad Johansen. We'll see you next time on Wise Money.